Togozani tribe, we're alive. Wow, look at Gift. Gift was the first one to say Togoza Koko. The minute we went live, thank you, Gift, for coming in, for waiting. Togozani, it is me, Ukoko Dino Ntlanzi, and Mkhulu Mkhatswa. And as per your request, last week when you were asking Guti, Mkhulu comes back, and he said we need to invite him. So we invited him last week, and he gladly said yes to us, and his topic of interest was really coming in here to give us guidance and advice on relationships. It's just purely guidance, advice. Please note that what we are offering is guidance. It's not a diagnosis. It's not a professional interpretation of events. So we are bringing our own experience as a couple, as a family, as parents, as colleagues, business partners. So we're giving and bringing our own experience being in relationship into the teachings. So Umkulu, as you all know him mostly from his music videos, where he sings a lot of Idlozi songs, so we can call it like African New Age music. But he is Isangoma Ukobela Naye, and is somebody who's really invested in a lot of traditional and cultural practices. And for me, you all know by now, Guting is Sangoma, African thought leader, spiritual healer and teacher, relationship coach, and heal your life teacher, etc., etc. So many hats that we are bringing today to really try help you navigate complexities of life, spiritual life, relationship life, family life, etc., etc. So hashtag Amandlanzi Amahle in the house, coming in to really give some food for thought and genuine and great guidance. Whether you are on Facebook or on YouTube tonight, please make sure that you do follow the Facebook page, put your notifications on. You will never get to miss a live. It becomes easier. So even if I forget to post a reminder, you will be reminded automatically as I go live. And for my YouTube family is to also subscribe, hit on the notification button. That way it makes it easier for you as well to to be reminded when we come on live. And liking it helps with the algorithms. Somebody who's looking and is seeking an answer, because that's how people find us. Some people just like, oh, your videos just popped up. Ganti, we are that answered prayer. We are that pathway that they've been seeking. So yeah, so you help others by also participating actively on this live. So we're going to be speaking about all relationships. So we are not going to be limiting about what in relationships. You are bringing your questions to the both of us, but we also wanting to ask Umkulu more and draw on his wisdom. So I'm here to support him. So let me repeat and reiterate some of the important things that I've laid out when I speak about relationships. I said it is an incremental part of us as human beings to be in relationships, because we thrive, we build, um, we connect when we are in healthy relationships. And all relationships, of course, they begin back in our mother's womb, in relationship with our mother, in the relationship with the divine, with our ancestors. Relationships we have with others are actually informed by the relationships that we've had from earlier on in our upbringing, and relationships that we've had in our past lives. So many people do speak about, it feels like I've known you before, or we were soulmates in our past lives. Then we've met again. The reason you've met again is because there's an incomplete mission from the past life that has come back. And some of you feel like you've known your partner today, but it feels so deep and so meaningful. But also be careful, because some of those relationships that are deeply connecting and you're deeply drawn, be sure that it's not lust, or it is not you are not being attracted. It's not your inner child wounds that are being drawn towards this person, because they are coming with an archetype of being a father, being a mother, or the hero, the rescuer. So your wounded self will also be drawn to particular relationships, especially relationships that you just go and become zoo, like you are so in it and you are so in love in the next month, and 6 months later there's children, there's everything, and I'm not saying all of those relationships are like that, because we also know that, relationships are built for, some are meant for a lifetime, some are meant for a season, and some are meant for a reason. And I find that seasonal and relationships that have come to play a particular role or purpose in your life, those ones are normally very intense, because the intensity of them is so that you can go through that season with that particular person and learn what you need to learn, and then you are done. But they are also the most painful relationships that one can experience. So they become very painful when they end, because it was so deep and so quickly. So thank you, Katleho. Katleho loves us, always making a sticker contribution. Thank you, super sticker contribution. And Katleho is one of the core tribe members of the Ndlanzi. So this weekend we had a Ndlanzi ceremony, and we now said the tribe that we have, of people, we no longer call them the Kokodinawa tribe, we are calling them the Ndlanzi tribe, because they show up for both me and Mkhulu, not only through our work, but also in our personal space. So we value and appreciate the tribe so much, because they've really become as much as we've gifted, but they've gifted back. So it's become a mutually beneficial relationship. So let's you want to say an intro, or we get to the questions?
We can get to the questions.
Okay, so yes, you're welcome to ask. Thank you, babes. So what happens is that when you do a super sticker, you can immediately add your questions, because as we get into the live, we get a lot of people coming in and we don't get to all the questions. This, for now, it's available on YouTube, but I think I'm going to try find if there's super stickers for Facebook as well, so that the Facebook family doesn't miss out. So, Unobuntu, we're going to go to your question. You see, you are very lucky because you came in early and we can be able to see your question. Kamaku Koko, once the trust is broken in a relationship, is gone. In our families, it's bad to no one trust. I even have good and healthy relationships with Izinyanya, Abalele, Ugufa Kamaku. So basically, Ukoko is saying, Guti, when trust has been broken, it's hard to build a relationship. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it is. It is indeed. Really, really. Thokozani. Sanibonani, sanibonani. Phezu kwalokho gogo okushoyo, it is really true ukuthi when trust is broken, kunzima ukubuilda i-relationship phezu kwalokho, because there's so many things that have been violated within that relationship. And I think based kwindaba yokuthi what is it that you guys decide when these things have happened, when the trust has been broken? Because sometimes when it's broken, abanye, it just iyaphela. Abanye, they still wanna work it out, they still wanna work things out and all that. Then kubantu now ukuthi, do they wanna work it out, or do they just wanna call it a day? And when you wanna work it out, you really need to be really committed to really building. It's like when uke wakha indlu mase ike yawa, then you rebuilding that house, you don't just start by putting the roof, but you start with foundation phase and just see ukuthi where did it go wrong. And then now the openness and all that, because now you really need to start to affirm this person, to start to ukukhuluma naye ngendlela different than you used to. To show up in a different way than you used to, so that this person can learn to trust. So that also not beside to learn to trust, but they can heal from the previous wounds. Because as years into mezenzakala, when you're answering your phone, uphumela phandle, then it becomes something else. But now you really need to be open now, so that you rebuild the trust back, so you can be able to have a healthy relationship again.
Well said, Mkhulu. So thank you, Bukanyile, for the sticker. Thank you. These stickers are donations that are made to us so we can continue doing this work and actually growing it and, hopefully and possibly, doing a full-on podcast, so that it's also maybe not us coming in. We also can invite other people. So thank you, Zanele Zwani. We saw the other one just now, Sabonga. Any contribution is very welcome. So I think what I like about what you spoke about in terms of trust is that the mistake people make, especially because trust is broken because there's been a betrayal. Somebody has been deceitful, somebody has lied, somebody has been manipulative. So when you have broken somebody else's trust, you can also dictate the terms and conditions of how they need to end your trust. You need a lot of patience, because remember, there are things before trust is broken, there are red flags that would come up. And because in us we've got an intuition, which is, some people call it your God voice or the higher voice. It's there and it feels uncomfortable, but because you want to apply logic, you ignore the red flags, then boom, a betrayal happens. So when a betrayal happens, is that when you still want to behave in the same ways in which that led to that trust being broken, that's really not rebuilding the trust. And I like what you're saying. What Mkhulu is saying is that because trust collapses the relationship, so to rebuild, we have to build from the fundamentals. And the one who's broken the trust should also be willing to go the extra mile to rebuild and regain the trust, because the trust is the cement of the foundation. So without the trust, we can't build a relationship, because one lives in paranoia, anxiety, and I mean, some betrayals are so deep that it has impacted somebody else's well-being. So their mental, physical, and health state has been. So when somebody is willing, it gives you a chance not to prove yourself to them, but to prove yourself to yourself. Because when you break somebody else's trust, it comes from a place of your own inner security. Like, I'm insecure about myself. I don't feel good enough about myself. Therefore, I need to do, I need to go and, drink, and you become an alcoholic and you end up being in debt. And so you also need to work on yourself and understand what has led you into a behavior that led to you hurting somebody whom you've declared your love for. So it's very important. And for the one whose trust has been broken, is to also work on yourself about, where have I kept quiet where I needed to speak? Where have I not, because people who get betrayed is also, and it's not their fault, because you are not responsible for the stimulus, but your response is your responsibility to also start doing work to be aware of your lack of boundaries. So boundaries are what keeps the relationship intact, because love without boundaries is quite sentimental and anemic, because we are pretentious. We're just trying to be, nice to each other and not necessarily being real with each other. So Kitumezi is asking, Chogoza Koko, what are the implications of sex before marriage in a relationship?
Thokoza. I think it's a religious one, or it's also a personal choice.
Yeah.
What are your values
Mm.
and what are your beliefs, and it's been driven by those things. Or what is it that you decide to do before ungena emshadweni or kanjani, because ngeke sikhulumele wonke umuntu. Abanye bakhona abantu, they do it but they end up being married and all that. Uyayibona lento le. And I think into ebankulu kakhulu eyenza ukuthi bathi sex before marriage kanjani njani is to preserve yourself in a way ukuthi when you get into that, tying the knot and all that, then it becomes something amazing for both of you. It becomes an experience that you guys wanna enjoy, wanna be in. Wanna for isikhathi eside or for the rest of your life. Then you indulging kukho konke lokho. It's also mhlambe one of the things ukuthi basaba ukuthi you will indulge with this one, and then akasekho, then sekulos, and then akasekho, and then by the time ufika esikhathini sokuthi you wanna settle down, ukhathele.
Mm.
Yeah.
And what about abantu abathwasile?
In terms of abantu abathwasile, then it is
Or
kuyinto
umuntu osephehlweni.
kuyinto ebalulekile when uthwasile noma umngoma noma umuntu wemimoya into ekhona when sihlangana nabantu we exchange ama-energies, and as we exchange ama-energies, le energy yomunye umuntu ihlala nawe, and then mawulibele u-exchange ama-energies nabantu abahlukahlukene, sometimes you end up losing yourself within these relationships, within these energies, and ukucleansa lezi zinto kuba yinto enzima kakhulu, uyabona. And umuntu wemimoya ukuvulela wonke umuntu in your energy, it also depletes you. Uyabona, it depletes you in a way ukuthi kusasa kuba inkinga, ezinye izinto ugcina umuntu ungasezwa, ungasaboni ezinye izinto, because sometimes ulale nabantu abarong. Uyabona, kubalulekile kakhulu, especially sabantu aba-gifted and all that, ngoba nakhona kunemithetho, and usephehlweni, it's a definite no. It's a definite no. It's because it's very crucial kumsebenzi wakho ukuthi you do respect ilona isikhathi sakho musephehlweni, ukuthi ungazitholi umuntu ongena kulezo zinto, ngoba kunzima. Abanye amadlozi abo kuya ngedlozi lakho ukuthi linjani. Abanye bangagcina bazibona balahlekelwe ngisho nawumphefumulo uqobo. Uyabo, ayahlukana alona amadlozi ukuthi kukanjani. Abanye izinto ziyavaleka, abanye athola ukuthi kuyenza then kuba right, but fika ngaphandle, then it's something different. Kanti ilento ahamba ayenza asephehlweni, then yizi izinto ezinjala, the impact ebakhona ukuba in sexual relationships.
Yeah, and also because ucansi is your life force. That's your God's energy, because we create when two people come together. There is not only an exchange, but there is a giving of someone. So you don't want to be creating opposite of what you're aspiring to create. And it's very common for people who are spiritually gifted to have a lot of attraction, sexual attraction towards them, because it's not basically just that people are attracted to them physically, they are also attracted to the vibration, they're attracted to their healer energy, because when you are gifted, you are vibrating, your God's force is it vibrates higher than an ordinary person. So because you're a healer, so your energy force vibrates healer frequency. So be careful, because even if you are not married, but be careful of whom you are exchanging yourself with, because some people are there for that part, because it's for them, it's like a transaction. It's like, we are here to get that from you, because we know that we will be siphoning from your God's force, we'll be siphoning from your life force. So I haven't went down to all the other comments. Please remember to like the video and subscribe, put on the notification button. Petros is asking, how do you see a partner who's been sent by your ancestors? Oh, before that, Vanessa, we hear your request from Facebook asking for us to pray for her heart to be free from anger. Please pray for peace in my heart. Prayer is not enough, darling. All I can say that, because prayer is us giving you spiritual bypassing. You need to be able to feel, process, deal, and heal, because prayer won't heal it, right? Because the heartache is in the body. So you need to do some work to heal the pain that is in the body. We can help you and you can feel lighter, but something else will happen that will trigger you back into your anger state. So yeah, it's so difficult for me to call you Mkhulu, babes. How do you see a partner who is sent by your ancestors? That's a question from Petros.
Amen.
Is that, do you want me to take a go at this one?
I think take a go at this one, because it's open.
Yeah. Well, we got a lot of experience on that. Me, Mkhulu, and I, in terms of, and also people because we also need to be careful, like, is it lozi or is it your desire? Right? Because desire is about yourself, and when it's spirit, it's about the collective. So it's more than you, because a lot of times people confuse their own personal desires with what the ancestors are asking or guiding you. When it is it's an ancestral guidance, it's never forceful and it doesn't seem urgent, and it will also make sense to the both of you. So it cannot be a revelation to you alone, it needs to be a revelation at both ends. And like, again, be clear that, is this partner sent to me for a Josie seasonal mission, or is this partner sent to me as my life partner? Because I feel like our ancestors cannot interfere with our will. So you can't be given somebody and be stuck with them, even though when your heart is not there, and saying, late. Because sometimes we do actually make, act up and make decisions and want to excuses as it was late. From my own personal experience, I have learned with most Lozi let kind of come together as, and Lozi wants you to be in a relationship. It's about the mission at hand. It's not really about it's not about your life partner and building a relationship for a lifetime. It's for that particular mission. The one that has been brought by Ilozi, for you, the two of you will feel mutual, and it will organically build itself. It won't move from point A to point Z. It won't move from point A to point 8, and it will not also, like I said, it won't be
too good to be true.
It won't be too, I like that.
Yeah, it won't be too good to be true. When it's a lousy related relationship, it's something as ngesikhathi sayo, and ayina njengoba ushilo ukuthi there's no agency kuyo. It takes its time, and ayishintshi. When we relationship ebhaliwe ukuthi it's a relationship yabantu abadala, it doesn't matter how long it take for us ukuthi sihlangane sizohlangana, because we are meant to. It's and when we do ukuhlangana, it won't be a thing yokuthi lo uyobe kukanjani kuzobe kuyisikhathi esi-perfect for both of us ukuthi singahlangana, ukuthi sikwazi ukuthi sibe in a relationship. Angeke kube ukuthi kuyofanele ukuthi fanele ushaye ngesitina njani, cha. Kuyoba yinto ukuthi idlozi liyenzile and lizozenzakalela ngesikhathi esi-right, ngendlela futhi e-right, ukubonakalisa ukuthi ihlanganisa abantu abadala imimoya, ngoba imimoya ayihambi iyomosha izinto, kodwa ihamba iyokwandisa, iyolungisa, iyokhulisa. Then mengabe iqala kabi, izophela kabi.
Wow.
Ngoba akuyona yabantu abadala le, kuzobe kuyinto ebexi. Mara meyiyoqala yabantu abadala, iyoqala kwi-foundation e-right. Angeke iqale kwi-foundation eneyinyembezi, ngoba it's not meant for inyembezi. It's meant for ukuyokhulisa and to uplift and to strengthen. Then into yabantu abadala le.
Yeah, wow. I just had an epiphany moment. Those relationship is not Usula's Nyembezi, it's not a rebound relationship.
It's something eyenzelwe ukuthi kufanele iyoniphilisa nobabili.
Yeah.
It's not for only one person, but it's for both of us. And enye into ekhona, we also need to understand ama relationships alethwa idlozi, because njengoba ushilo kunama relationships ukuthi lo muntu ulethwe idlozi kuwe ukuthi azokulekelela as a person, but not ukuthi nize niyohlangana nocansi. Bakhona abanjalo, and that one, it's very much confusing. Then you need to be really aware ukuthi kwenziwa yini, kwenzakalani lapho kulawo ma relationship, because yes, umuntu wesifazana nomuntu wesilisa mesisonke silekelelana, sisizana kukuhle kumnandi. Sometimes we confuse things ukuthi njengoba ugogo ashilo ukuthi yes, I'm called in a relationship for a certain mandate, and I need to do that not for the physical, not for uthando but ukuthi mhlambe kunento kufanele siyoyifeza njengabantu ababiziwe ukuthi bayokwenza lokho, and kunomuntu ukuthi ubizelwe yena ukuthi uyothandana naye, niyoshada, niyoba nabantwana, nibe nomuzi. Kunomehluko kulezo zinto lezo. That's why ngisho ukuthi when kuyileyo mshado, it won't be too good to be true.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Can I narrate a bit of our story without going into explicit details?
Yeah, good man.
Okay. I needed to ask permission because it's our story. But I'm thinking, Guti, when we look at our relationship of 22 years, right? We've known each other. And people will say, you know, he shows it. But what I mean by organic is that we met and we lost contact. But at the time that we were meeting, there was a connection, but it wasn't feeling like we gotta be in a relationship now because both of us had partners, right? And we stayed friends and we didn't betray our partners. So those relationships cannot also happen in as infidelity. Besothi no, because it was belfuna a second wife, or it was belfuna a spiritual husband, a second husband. But it doesn't happen like that. Because I'm thinking of ours, of how we met 22 years ago. We never dated. We met again, and we had same interests, but we were also such different people, right? We were different. We had same interests, but we had also we had different interests. So we were the same but yet different. And then we got together, and then when we got together and then we got married and we separated. But even in our separation, it wasn't nasty. We didn't have public fights, and like we didn't become quite toxic. We still were able to work together, and we did our work brilliantly, to a point where people were like, no, you guys are to a point when even the people that were dating at the time, no, they can't be, but me and him know, Guti, we were not there. We just worked well together. Even coming back together, it took a bit of a while and a lot of steps that we are still rebuilding. We're still doing ceremonies to rebuild. So when I mean that it's organic, I move it from it was liti. They say now that everyone must know which we are together. Now there must be this and that, because those ones are basically like short term. And certain relationships, like I say, because they say a road to hell is paved with good intentions, because it looks so rosy, it looks so amazing. So just, yeah, you just gave me an aha moment. Thank you. XX gave us, is that a pound? It looks like a pound. Wait. I need to look at my pound and euro sign, because sometimes it gets confusing. I see it when I use it on the phone. So we are acknowledging the right thing. I'm like that, right, babe? That's another thing that me and you are different of. Yeah. Yes. Siyabonga, I can't even find it, but I think it's a pound. So we got another question that I saw. It went up very quickly. Somebody who said, what do you do if your husband doesn't support you in your journey of taking your gift? What must you do?
Togoza, I think you will just guide, not to what must you do, because you know what you need to do, but it's just that you're afraid of doing what you need to do. Uh, First of all, I think ijeni yakho yobizo lwakho, it's your journey, like you're saying, it is yours. It's not anybody else. It is yours. If I need to go into my journey, I need not to expect anything from anybody, but whatever support they give or whatever thing that they do for me, it's appreciated. That's the first thing, because sometimes we end up holding other people hostage. Yeah, but you are not doing this, you are not. But it's also something we've never communicated again. That's the thing. Oguti, sometimes as partners we fight for things we've never communicated with our partners. I'm fighting with you, yeah, but you don't call me, you don't do this, but I've never asked for those things. Sometimes you need to ask. If you need support, you need to ask for it. And remember, I have a right to say no to certain things. And it's not that I'm not being supportive. It's not that I'm being cruel or ranjan or rangitandi. If I feel uncomfortable about certain things, I'm not going to agree to it. Then that is when, Uguti, when we start relationships, we also need to be forward about certain things, about certain beliefs, certain cultures, certain rituals that we do, so that we don't find ourselves 10 years down the line, then there's something that comes out, oh, I forgot to tell you, like, ekhaya sikanje. Then it's unfair for me to now need to understand and I didn't know about them. Okay, well, then you also need to understand that it will take time from me. As much as nakuwe it took time zanga bathi abantu abadala hey fanele uyothwasa, and then we said hey yazi mphuphe fanele ngiyothwasa nyama. Now there was resistance in your own gift. Now that you've said yes to the gift, I need to follow you. It becomes unfair.
Yeah.
But also, each and every relationship, it's got its own rules. As Sizzle and the lie. And you also know the do's and the don'ts, and the things that you can withstand and the things that you cannot stand in a relationship. And it's also about communication. How do you communicate mekwenzakala izinto, or how did you communicate nalo muntu wakho when you first found out what you needed ukuthi uyothwasa? Was it something that was pushed down his throat, or was it something we
Oh, we're back. We lost connection for a bit.
And you into, I think, as abangoma, that we also need to understand and not expect our partners to really go in all out to go support, but we need to communicate and also understand where they're coming from when they don't, because sometimes we hold them hostage. We hold them abanye abantwana hostage. Umntana abantu umtholea umzalwane, and then now you want to change them. Because remember, the other thing is not about to change anybody. It's not about to change, to convert everybody ukuthi aze bungomeni. Ukayibona le nto? Yes, sifuna ukuthi abantu bavuke, to be awakened. And abantu sivuka ngesikhathi esahlukahlukene. Kufana nasempilweni manje, abanye bavuka ngo-3, ngo-4, ngo-5, ngo-6. Kuyabona ngoba uvuka ngo-3, you won't expect everybody. Even nasempilweni kunabanye kancane kancane, they reawaken to these things zobungoma, the spirituality. Uyabona? But now we need not to campaign ngathi abantu ama-politicians and all that. Into efanele siyenze nathi singabangoma, allow abanye abantu to transition ngesikhathi sabo nangendlela yabo, ukuze lesimo sabantu abadala singabonakali njengomthwalo phezu kwethu.
Yeah. Okay, I was just checking that we've got network connection because we froze there for a bit. And I think I always say this, and I think some of these questions we will repeat because we've got new tribes from Facebook, is that your calling is not a community project. You know, you are the one who knows what it means being in misalignment. So you need to do what makes sense for you, and making sense for you doesn't mean it needs to make sense for everybody else. And like, I think I like what you said, is that because people think that, no, you're going to, you are going to have a calling now, fanele uyothwasa. The other thing that we practice at the Institute is that, especially for people who are in committed and marriage, we don't see individuals. We would encourage you, when you have a calling, to call your husband.
Yeah.
And we even ask, did you let your husband know? It's not reporting, but it's informing, right? Because you are going to see a spiritual healer. Umakuduza, umvumbuluzi, so sizovumbula izindaba. Then you're gonna go back and utiyo ukoko uti this and this and this. Bese kusasa kuthiwa izangoma sicabanisa abantu. Yabona sibhidlisa imshado. Because remember ukuthi noma siphahla so busy sibongo sala ushadele khona. So sizo pick up izinto zalaphaya. And I withhold. I don't go deep to talk about somebody who has not consented for the consultation I'm doing. So I would encourage people, when they are in a committed, unless if they are struggling and they're trying to figure things out and the husband doesn't want to come, But when you are just going to check izinto because they are collapsing, say to your love, hey, love, into zam ziyamosha, guys. Ngiyobona ugogo man, kunogogo. So I'm just saying ukuthi try izinto because we are Africans. I'm not, so when we are actually inviting people, they sign up easier than when we're imposing things. Yabo? Ngetseng is asking, I had a toxic relationship which proved to be from a previous life in tarot card reading. Gogo, how do I prevent this karma from carrying on? I want to try some here. I'm going to pull up I've got a deck of architect cards. So I just want to ask your question out loud again and pull up a card for you and see what can I pick up. So you're asking, you have attracted a past life. So how do you prevent the karmic debt? Well, when we are preventing karmic debt for Nketseng. Okay, I'm gonna pull up a card for you. Okay. So the card that we pull up is slave. Light attribute, surrendering your power of choice to divine with complete trust. Shadow attribute, giving your willpower to external authority out of fear or making your own choices. So this is what you need to be healing in you to move away from this karmic. So probably in your past life, you would just, people always say women must be submissive, submit. But you can't submit. Submission occurs or happens when a woman is loved. It becomes natural. When I am experiencing love, then I can be able to do that. So, meaning that in your relationship, you don't even trust yourself. You go in a relationship to accommodate the other person, and you going into the relationship thinking accommodating them and being in that relationship will complete you and it will heal you or make you feel better. So, how we heal karmic loops is to actually heal the experiences that have created those karmic loops. And like I said, the archetype is slave. So what is it that you are slaving away? What are you overgiving? What are you giving that is not a equal exchange? So let us know, as we are saying, because slave is that it means the energy is there's too much giving, because slave is a giver without compensation, the one who's overworked and not being
Not even paid.
not being even being paid. So you are overgiving in relationships. So you are actually the people pleaser in relationships. It's like we do this, so you lose yourself in relationships. So meaning that there is a trauma in the past life, there is an experience that led to that, but there is a traumatic experience in this lifetime that has opened that experience for you. So it has opened it because it's asking you to heal, so you can heal these loops. Let us know if we're making sense. I need to go to Nero. We can't miss your question. You see, this is what happens, babes. So when people purchase stickers, their comments don't disappear. So Nero purchased the sticker at like 9:48, and we are at 9:53, but the comment remains to the top of the chat. So Noah's, thank you for the wisdom and knowledge once again, Mkhulu and Gogo. We know as intuition, could that be our ancestors trying to warn us about someone who's not good for us? No, your intuition is not your ancestors. Your intuition is your higher self. Some people call it your spirit self, your God self. So that is it's part of you, but it's also not attached to your human experience, because it is there to guide you. It is there to give a directive. So that is your higher self, because your higher self, remember, knows your past, present, and future timeline. So when it's giving you something, it's not your ancestors. Your ancestors will be able to show themselves up. No, it's not an either or. It could be, but it could be, your feeling could be a guidance that's coming from your spiritual guides, which is your ancestors. But ancestors will either you'll see things in your dreams, right? You'll see things in your dreams, or they will make you, let's say I'm talking to Mkhulu and we're on a date, right? And then something will say to you, he will leave his phone, and then his phone will ring, and then it will say, no, look, answer, you know, it will show in signs and symbols. So I'm trying to say here now, it's not either or, but just be clear that intuition is not, it could be it's your higher voice getting guidance from somewhere else, but your intuition is your higher self, and your higher self is higher than the ancestors, because that's the spirit part of you. It's not your fleshy self. So the ancestors are your spirit guides who've had a flesh experience, who've had a human experience. So they can't go above, because let's give you an example. You go to a healer and they tell you, you must trust her now. Right? And yes, Rosie says it's time, you've seen the symptoms, the time is up, you've got to do it. Your intuition says not here. Doesn't feel right here. This is not the place for us. So then you go to Asa and you say, no, but it's Rosie, because my life was collapsing. Do you see what I'm saying? Your higher self was saying, not yet, because your higher self already knows what's going down in that place. Because Rosie had a human experience. So even as guiders, depending whom is guiding you, depending on whom are you accessing, because your access to the Rosie world is also dependent on your level of consciousness. If you are vibrating, you are at fifth consciousness, and you can't access ninth dimension and guidance. You can't access the ancestors who are sitting at the, you know, at the council of masters, for example. Those ones, abelosi, for example, we call them abelosi, is in zonza.
I think this one needs you guys to go into a class and all that, because it's really deep. It's really deep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's than relationships now.
Well, I think our relationship with Josie also has an impact on how we relate to other people, because I think from Endumen, we see when people don't have a spiritual relationship and a spiritual grounding, it affects how they show up in relationships, because they don't have an anchor. If I was for example. But let's get to this other questions. Can you lobola a child that isn't biologically yours if you are in a relationship with the child's mother and have a bond with the child? Please.
Thokoza, for me, yebo kuyenzeka, kodwa there's certain things that needs to be taken into considerations first, ukuthi ubaba ukhona na ubaba lo mntwana. And if akhona, I would say into yokuqala kufanele aziswe. Ukuthi uke kwabanjani, but kufanele aziswe, ngoba mase kabuya kusasa athi ngifuna ingane yami izoshintsha isibongo, what happens now in that relationship?
Even though angamhlawulanga,
Athi ngizomhlawula, angithi wakhe, khumbula umntwana owakhe, then moko wakhe biologically unamalungelo kulo mntwana, even though angakahlawulanga enzini.
I don't agree with you on this one.
Mengabe nginomntwana nomuntu, and also izinto esizibhekayo lapho ukuthi i-relationship yakho nobaba womntwana ikhona noma yikho, wamphika noma kamphikanga. Ezinye zezinto eziba in play ukuthi kwenzakalani, because kusasa asifuni umntwana asale eyinkingeni ngenxa yokuthi sajahela ukushada and then sashadisa nengane. Ubaba sekafikile sekathi ufuna ingane yakhe inini, and sekufunakala izinto zani ukuthi fanele kuhanjiswa namacourt and all that. But I would say first, mengabe ubaba usaphile, ezinye izinto esifuna ukuzazi ukuthi ubaba usaphila na, ubaba wamphika umntwana noma kamphikanga noma kukanjani, how is the relationship? Then those things, then they determine ukuthi lo mntwana bakayikhapali namane na. Yizi izinto ekufanele zihambe zibhekwe-ke. Then mengabe ubaba mhlambe sewashona and all that, or ubaba waphika wathi ingane akuseyakhe ini, then lapho kuyakwazeka ukuthi okay, yebo ukayikhapali namane.
So let me say why I don't agree with you. Umntwana, when is born out of wedlock, umntwana kamalumi, because uzalele kabomama.
But it doesn't take away the...
No, it doesn't. Biologically, it doesn't. That's a legal matter. We're talking about a spiritual and ancestral and traditional matter. Because the reason uhlawula umntwana, it's for the father to acknowledge paternity ngesintu. because inhlawulo mayikhishwa iyabikwa ukuthi nayi inhlawulo, because that's how you acknowledge paternity yaloyo mntwana, because you can acknowledge paternity ukuthi yeah umntwana, unless if the father has articulated ukuthi ngizozama kodwa kamanje anginawo amandla, so you can't automatically, then ubaba has to be informed ukuthi hayi bekafisa. And I would also not encourage it if ubaba has said ukuthi no, this is my child ngizohlawula, because inhlawulo is acknowledgement of paternity in the spirit world. So then if ubaba uthi anginawo amandla kwamanje kodwa kuthiwe mokubikisiso wazivuma, kwathiwa ke ukuthi inhlawulo kuzoba inkomo ethizeni noma kuzoba ini, wavuma ukuthi ngizohlanganisa amandla. So if the father is also not there emotionally, because umntwana akakhuliswa imali kuphela, it's not about money. Emotionally, meaning they can still they playing an active role. So then you do that, because go spending and so when is when they've been raised under the surname of umama, because ubaba has not done the necessary things to acknowledge paternity. Because when you are carried by me in my womb, when you are given birth, and then uzobikwe ekhaya, within the first few days ofike ekhaya fanele ubikwe. So ubikwa ekhaya ezingane kabani? So if I'm unmarried, it means ukuthi bazothi hayi nangu uTebugo wakaRamalepe, because ubaba has not come. That's why esintwini, when you are pregnant, before you give birth, kuyobikisiso, so that kuthiwe ukuthi kube nama-conversations that are happening ukuthi okay, so sizosebenzisana kanjani ke, then uzothi I'm not ready to get married, but this is my child, we will sort out inhlawulo. So megabikwa kaRamalepe uzothi yebo umntwana kaDinewo kodwa ubaba wakhe usibani bani. So kwamanje uzosebenzisa until baba yenze imfanelo. But if ubaba is like, nowhere to be seen emotionally, spiritually, mentally, doesn't even know ukuthi umntwana uyalandwa crash, doesn't know, doesn't play a role. Because I'm saying what showing up for your child is not only financially. There are other things. When a father is present, even though financially they don't have the means, then you go there. Because automatically umntwana, when he's born out of wedlock, upilonga kamalume, akapilonga ubaba wakhe. So windows are court. So if you do not change. This is what I say to women. Do not change isename yomntwana from isename kababa wakhe because wena nobaba wakhe nidivorcile and wena sowushadela komunye umuzi. You don't do that. Do not go uyotshentsha isibongo somntwana or uthi umntwana akakalotsholwa if ubaba wakhe sekamhlawulile, because the father has already acknowledged paternity. But it doesn't it doesn't stop you from being there and showing up and playing a fatherly role, because no one can ever, replace one's biological father. So kuba kanjalo. So mokwenziwe kanjalo kwenziwa zonke imfanelo ubaba kayenzanga, because mohamba uyolobola umntwana, it's because you are now saying ifana ne-adoption, it's like with adoption, you more adopt umntwana. And ngatshela umalume Ndlovu ngimbuza nge-adoption ukuthi then what happens when you have to adopt? Because manje imbele kathi no uyabikwa emsamo ukuthi lo mntwana samthatha kuphi, sesimbika ke manje simfaka isibongweni sala ekhaya. And that's why I say I agree with you at some points, but we don't always have to agree, right?
But it's sure.
The tarot slave card is on point, Coco. Even in the dreams, I always save people, but put them on the back and fly around trying to be a savior. So this is how, you play you heal your karmic loop, so you don't have to attract. Okay, Queen RJ, thank you so much for the contribution, but I'm trying to look for your question now. Queen, let's remember Queen RJ. Nyasha says, Coco, you forgot to read my first comment. I missed it, Nyasha. I'm so sorry. Coco, I love my ancestors, but I don't want marriage. Can I stay single? You're not held at hostage by your ancestors. Can she stay single?
Yeah, I'm forced to
No, they won't force you. I think what we call the God wound is again that whole thing of fearing God instead of revering God. and if we don't do as God wants us to do, then we're going to be punished. But the same God said to us, I have given you free will, choose life. That's why people can do the most horrendous evil of acts, and we're like, where's God? Because God doesn't interfere with one's free will. So if it is your free will to not be in a marriage, because relationships are not built in marriage. A relationship is built before marriage. So sometimes, because of once things get contractual and there's a bonding, and you feel like it's not going to work, but people can be in a relationship and they could be committed and be loving and all of those things. So yeah, but it's your choice. Money. And okay, we just got a contribution. Good evening, everyone. Put your question in a super chat for Mkhulu Mkhatswa. Yes, super chat. Like, we don't miss super chats. You see, we have one. It says, Gogo, I could ask, what does it mean if you dream of your partner impregnating another woman, or keep dreaming of past boyfriends as married to you in a dream, then impregnating a close friend?
Yeah, ngicela uyiphendule ngoba mina besize for ilona ama-dreams. Now we're going to dreams.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we diverting from ilona. Yebo, singathanda ukuphendula kodwa
We're
we're
diverting.
diverting from what we initially said we're doing today.
Yeah.
Then, yeah.
But I guess because it's connected to a relationship. So I think first of all is, when you're interpreting your own dreams, are they always literal?
Not always.
Exactly. So when you dream of somebody impregnating something, it might be that you're actually seeing them, giving them something that is also sacred to you. They can be sharing an aspect of you, of themselves, with somebody else, because we know that when people start going into other relationships, it's not always like about the physical aspect, but it could also be, I'm spending time, or I'm giving them the attention that you're giving, because to us, pregnancy is a gift. And I'm wondering, because you're also dreaming of past boyfriends, if this have you ever experienced infidelity? Have you ever experienced someone betraying you, that they left you and went off with somebody that you knew and built a life together? Because when we don't heal those things, and that's what I said earlier on, if you don't heal things, they keep on repeating themselves. So our dream state could be asking us to heal something. So where are you when you're having those dreams? But like Mkhulu said, we did say we're having relationships, because now we're gonna divert into, and Mkhulu has been calling me into, like, let's focus on the topic at hand, so we don't lose track of time and we don't lose track of the theme today, because we then would ask you. So this is what we're going to ask when we come back and have a dream session. Please think about, where are you when you are having these dreams? Because where you are at gives us a context of what the dream means. Okay, let's do another super chat. Thokoza Mkhulu, how do you keep your relationship so solid and special? Any advice to married couples?
Thokoza, I think it's just to keep it real and be able to experience a young into that you need to, and stay true to yourself, and be supportive, and be open to being wrong, be open to engage into conversations as deep conversations that sometimes are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And don't expect it to be perfect. Because once we expect to be perfect, then kuba inkinga. And let's just allow each other to be alive in a relationship, allow each other to be present in a relationship. Then kanjalo siyakwazi ukuthi siphikisane, ngoba once manje kuba nokuthi fanele kube indaba kalona or indaba kaloku ayi-one, kuba inkinga, ngoba i-relationship, I still need to be me in a relationship yethu, she still needs to be her in our relationship. Ukayibona lento leyo. And once we are able ukuthi nami ngibe nalokhu engikuthandayo, ngikwazi ukwenza engikuthandayo, enza kuthandayo, but also ngikhumbule ukuthi konje ngine-commitment enginayo empilweni yami. Uyayibona lento ukuthi I've committed to somebody, then I need to also honor that commitment. And
Yeah. I think you've said it very well. And I think, people can clearly see we just disagreed right now on something, but we didn't do it in a way that degrades the other, because I think sometimes in relationship is that when we have disagreements, we think that's what we used to think. Like, it felt like disagreements were a fight, but we are two
Mm.
individuals with our own brain and our own thoughts. So
Mm.
in a relationship, you can't always want your way to be the way. There are many ways, and that's fine to have many ways. That's the other thing. Learn to be truthful to
Yeah.
each other. That is very important.
Yeah.
Learn, even when the truth is hard to tell, because a relationship normally gets broken by lies than being brave enough to tell the truth. If it does break, then yeah, but most of the time it's the lies, that because the lying and the truth gets revealed. So you're not only dealing with the unhidden truth, you are also dealing with the fact that what else have you lied about? What else have you not told the truth about? That's the other thing. And also be willing to learn that some of the things you're experiencing of your partner, it's your projections, is not the reality. What do I mean by that? So when you're like, you're not loving me enough, you're not doing this enough, you're not, certain things, is that because our partners come and they trigger us, and
Mm.
they take us into our inner teen, our inner child, experiences, childhood experiences, and we think it's what they are doing, because sometimes we get into relationships because we are looking for the hero.
Yeah.
Like, I know, for example, Mkhulu is not a confrontational person, but sometimes I wanted him to go there and ambamba
Mm.
umuntu uyabona amuthi nje amtshintsha ngamawashini, because I didn't have that growing up. I didn't have somebody stand up for me. Benganumuntu ongilwelayo. But that's an unfair, because you also can't expect something from someone which you have not expressed. Assumptions are also a problem. So there are four things, four behaviors that destroy a relationship: defensiveness, when it's plain, like it's not my fault, it's all your fault. And the opposite of that, which is another one, and these are the four toxins by John Gottman, who has invested a lot of time in relationships and seen why people are end up divorcing. He says there are four, it's the four horsemen of the acoplics in relationships. It's blame, it's attack. So if I'm blaming you, it means that's not my fault, I'm attacking you, right? It's contempt. So contempt is sarcasm. And it's also withdrawing, disengaging, stonewalling people. This is where people ghost people. So I'll give you an example as well. A lot of people who are attackers and blamers are people who they feel that when they do that, they can take them. They're people who like to take charge all the time in relationships. They want to be controlling and dominating. Where are we going to go for dinner? I want Chinese, but I don't feel like Chinese. Can we find somewhere where we can have a little bit of Asian and a little bit of that? But you're like, no, 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 but right? It's about you, because you feel like when you are in charge, you are not going to be disappointed and you're not going to be hurt. So
Mm.
sarcastic people is people who, when you be like, would do something and say something uncomfortable, and when you express it to your partner, like, I don't like that comment, it's like, you don't take jokes anymore. That was a joke. When somebody says, "Yabona ngenze ini," athini ungathi unamazambane amancane, and it really hurts me because I really like this hairstyle. And I'm like, that's unpleasant. Be like, kanti wena udlaliswa ngemali. That's sarcasm, right? Stonewalling is when I'm talking to you and I'm having a conversation, and afterwards I'm like, "Did you get that?" You're like, "What? Say that? What?" You know. What I know sometimes when I'm talking and I say something, and who said, "What did you just say?" and I forgot. That's a trait of a stonewaller. So yeah, those things. So I'm gonna give you, Vanessa, please write your question again. You don't have to use a sticker because there's, I guess we missed it. Because you need to be able to write your question on the super sticker. If you just, like, for example, Umbali just gave us a super sticker, but there's no question. So we'll miss it when it comes next, because it just highlights where there's a super sticker. So the four things you want to ask yourself in a relationship is, what is the atmosphere? What's the culture we want between the two of us?
Mm.
How are we going to make this succeed? And how do we show up to each other when the tough gets going, when we argue and we hold strong opposing views? How are we going to show up? Are we going to insult each, like no insulting, no using of those are the things. And the other thing is, what are my needs in this relationship and what are my offerings? So try do that exercise with your partner. It's used in organizational system coaching, which is the coaching I've been trained in.
Never hit below the belt. That's the most important thing. It doesn't matter how angry, how upset you are. Don't say things that the next person won't be able to come back from. Then don't say things that will definitely change the complexion of the relationship for the rest of your lives. Ngoba lezo zinto, it's really hard. Uthola ukuthi umuntu is struggling or something, and wena leyo nto leyo uyenza ijoke, then bazofela ngaphakathi, then uzostruggle kakhulu. Because what we say to people when we are in relationships nabo zifana nezinto ezikhulunywa abazali kubantwana. It's like umama akho mekathe udomo, wonke umuntu mengathi udomo uyi-acceptile because ishiwo umuntu that you look up to, that umuntu o-close to you. Ukayibona le nto leyo nakuma-relationship izinto lokuthi sikwi-relationship ukuthi sizokwakhana, sizosekelana, sizokhula sonke, sizophakamisana at the end of the day. So siba yinto eyodwa. And into ekhona ukuthi fanele sazi ukuthi mengabe kwi-relationship kuvela ihlazo eleni noyi-two. Mengabe kuna something eyenzakalayo wrong eyenu noyi-two, ngoba nikwi-relationship angeke kube yakhe ayi-one. Uyabona, mekaba embarrassed, nawe u-embarrassed ngaleso sikhathi ngokuthini umuntu onaye, umuntu oxhumene naye.
Yeah. Nyasha is asking, why is it that African culture, Black men are allowed to have multiple partners, and why do and then women must control their virginity? That is patriarchy. That's not African culture. That is what we call a distorted African culture. It's not. It's called toxic masculinity. It's got many names, and I'll allow for Mkhulu to explain, because our culture is about building families. So when we are building families, we're not going to be encouraging everyone to go into. Why would we have Nhlawulo, the acknowledgement of paternity, if we were encouraging you to do as free as you please? Why would we want Nhlawulo when you do that? Because in our culture, we initially wanted people to be in a unionship, because we understood that everyone who's come has a divine union partner, because together you can build. Unions build empires. When you are together and you find your partner whom you have actually said, I will find when I incarnate on earth, you are able to build, you are able to thrive. So why would we just spoke about energies right now, right? Like how sex is an exchange of energies. So why would our culture say that and then go and say, but you can go around giving that away, that energy? It's what I call is that it's kind of like the colonial it's colonial African culture, which has a lot of patriarchy into it, that has taken us away, because that belief system is what has destroyed a lot of Black families and African families. That one, that it's a culture, I can do this, it has broken a lot.
Because and in terms of all of that, also it's certain things that were happening in Mandulo, but now certain things we are moving away, because we've seen certain things didn't serve us. Izinto angazi noma unyasho uzongizwa ngesizulu, ngifuna ukuyicacisa ngesizulu.
Translate a bit.
Certain things mezenzakala kudala, it's because of how they used to live. Then it allowed them in that moment. But now certain ancestors nalaba who had istembu abafazi abaningi, they are coming back and saying, I don't want my kids to have that, because I've seen how it has destroyed the family systems. Okay, and because it was done then, but now when the person who was holding together the family pass on, then no one is able to hold the family together. They now are moving away. They now become enemies and all that. Ezinye zezinto ziyashintsha. And yes, enye into esisho ukuthi
we are also not encouraging abantu to go around sleeping around and having that and say in the name of culture, in the name of what. And we also know that even when it comes to izinto zesithembu, it's not a man who comes and initiate that. It's mostly culture who is saying, can we have somebody who will come and afike la ekhaya azoba impepho emhlophe, impepho ekhanyayo, ukuyayibona lento le. And it's because now this woman has seen the energies of that woman, Guti. It's the same energy that we have. And as this person has the same energy that we have, they will amplify what we're trying to build, the legacy that we are building within our family structure will be greater than what it is at this moment, and it will be something that will bring izinto ezinhle ekhaya.
I think you said it brilliantly. I'm sure Nyasha heard you. So there's a difference between being in a polygamous relationship that has followed the values and the principles of polygamy, and one of them, Mkhulu has highlighted, it is a woman's decision and choice who says, some we have an addition because these are the reasons and this is what we need, and because we are limited, just as the two of us, bringing somebody else will be a benefit. You don't go have an affair and say, yeah, it's my culture, now I'm gonna have wife number 2 or husband number 2. That's toxic. Okay. So Stembile says, how do you balance finances, both of you working? Are you asking how do you balance your finances, both of you working? I think it's about how you guys, organize yourself in your relationship. So some people would do budgets. We know how our expenses work and who's responsible for what, because you also look at who brings what when, because both of us run a business that we are aware, but we also have other things. Mkhulu has his other side things, I have my other side things. So when my other side things are more, then it means I contribute more. When his other side things are more, we don't keep account like, hey, but he knows automatically now, like one example, he knows ubaba, ubaba uye, when we go out, mostly ubaba who does that. Mara grocery mama, but may shorter when we run out of groceries, when I'm asking him and I'm sending him a list, he won't say, hey, Mara, can't you to buy groceries? We don't work like that. Yeah,
I think it's to be a team.
Yeah.
And like I've said earlier on, the most important thing is communication between the two of you. And also, one of the things that we don't speak about, Uguti, where do we want to see ourselves in the next few years, maybe in the next 5 years, maybe in the next 10 years? And also, when we have a clear setting, Uguti, where do we want to go? Then those things, they now come with ideas with, okay, this is where we want to see ourselves, and this is how we will need to work around our finances. This is how we would do these things, and this is how we will do 1, 2, 3. Because once we know where we want to go, then we will definitely know what are the things that we need to put into place to assist us ukuthi siyofika la sifuna ukuya khona. It's communication. Communication is the key.
Yeah. And like we said, with different strokes work for different folks.
Yeah.
So we have certain agreements, like you don't buy a big purchase without communicating with me. So, and then I'm also like, okay, I won't be bothered about too many plants that are now in the yard. And it won't be like, oh, you've got another, flower vase. So there's certain things that we have agreed on, because what also happens in relationships, you find that you are there, you like something and you've got the money for it, and then you bring it, and then your partner needs to live with that in their bedroom. Like I changed the whole, I decided to put in a wallpaper because I love it, and if your partner says we can't afford it, it's not about you can't, is we can't because there are other responsibilities, it depends. We have 4 children, we've got a whole lot of other responsibilities that needs to matter. So we it's also about, like, we won't give out money or loans without communicating with each other, even if somebody's asking me for money, because kusasa mebangasa ngibhadale ngizabe ngikhalela yena ngisho uthi, yo baby bani athi hawu wamboleka 2,000 why ungasho. And you're like, oh, you see, so because that as well is communication is not always asking for permission. It's about transparency, right? And transparency, it also helps you keep things open and flowy in your relationship. Okay, we're gonna have to take the last few questions. Oh, Vanessa, I want to take Vanessa's question. Coco, I did send my question with a super sticker. Yes, you did say. My question is, what are spiritual things to look? Oh, I saw this question. I did for a new relationship. And does one need to cleanse when a relationship ends? One needs to moan when a relationship ends, depending on how long and how deep the relationship is. So one thing is, the first cleansing is even the mental and emotional cleanse. So don't move from one relationship to the other, because you will miss the red flags. Right? When we say what are the spiritual things to look for, it means that, when you are moving from one relationship to the next, you won't even feel the guidance of your intuition, because you might be moving from one toxic to another very toxic relationship, because you haven't given yourself time to actually grieve and mourn that relationship. But basically, I think from my side is, when you are in a relationship, do you share the same values? Not belief systems, values. Right? So we share the same values, but we have different, sometimes we believe in different things. Right? Mkhulu likes very certain things and I don't like certain things. When he was really an athlete and a sports person, I really didn't like it. Right? But we both valued health, which was important. So I made sure that we had healthy meals. And, so I wouldn't be like, why you eat? Well, no, sometimes, because he used to play soccer 7 days a week and he would be gone for 6 hours in the morning training. So it's that we valued health. The other thing could be that you are Christian and I'm non-Christian, but what do we value? We value the relationship to the divine, to the higher power, to that. So look out for those things. It's what Mkhulu said earlier on, because they are very important. Okay, I think Kumbani, we got the load shedding. Yes, but that's why people are dropping, because that's why we are on Wednesdays, guys, because of we've got load shedding tomorrow and we don't want to stay up till late. Think Queen RJ, I've been in a long-term relationship and just found out about my calling, but my ancestor seems not to want my partner. What do I do in that case? How do you know it's your ancestors? I think sometimes how we interpret things and how things are said, right? That the ancestors are not wanting this. Maybe a part of you is not wanting that, because when you are in relationship, you become this, the slave. You give and you neglect everything, and it becomes about that person and not about yourself. Because remember, your gift is to give to self before it can gift to others. So when we say your ancestors don't want that partner, it could also be like they are cautioning you, because there's certain traits that partner is going, or that the partner has, that are going to impact your spiritual journey. So don't just end the relationship, because no, what is the evidence you have? Have they been unfaithful? Have there been some deceit, some manipulation? Have they not been reliable? Have they not been really committing, even though it's a long-term relationship, but there's no growth, there's no progress? So look at it for yourself. When we're saying the ancestors, we're saying spirit is saying, because spirit is, you and your ancestors are one. There's a part of your spirit that's saying no to this person, because they are not playing their part. They're not playing their role,
You're always complaining about them. You're always complaining about the person that you with. That is why it feels like abantu abadala bamfuni. Because at the end of the day, they also don't want you to be in a toxic relationship. That is why it's okay, move and then sikulethela umuntu, all right, because of toxic in a relationship. Sometimes our lack of making decisions, and they will make decisions for us, because we lack making decisions, and then we running away from the responsibility of making those decisions. Then who have made us do this and that and that. Let's also not hide behind our responsibilities. When you say, hey, I'm not happy in this relationship, they will see, and then they follow that. Sometimes it's not about what you say with your mouth, but in terms of how you feel. So, like nabantu akafuni endlini, akafuni ukuya endlini angamane athengele abantu utshwala esportini uyayibona because of ufuna ukufika endlini apup drunk sekalala because of akukho mnandi endlini. Obviously kusasa kuzokuma uyubheka kuzobe ngathi abantu abadala abafuni because you don't want to go home uyabona. Then let's also take responsibility of how we feel in these relationships, and maybe sometimes you just uyasola ukuthi kuna something engekho right uyabona, then uyasola ukuthi mhlawumbe lo muntu uyacheata, mhlawumbe lo muntu wenzani, and then definitely sure kuzoba nezinto ozozibona then kusasa sithi abantu abadala.
Oh, I love what you just said now. So powerful. Like, because we are indecisive, then it looks like abantu abadala, but it's actually what you truly also want. Because you know that the relationship is toxic. Wow, that's really powerful. Because we're running away from taking responsibility. That's deep. That's deep. Yeah. And namhlanje umkhasho has allowed you to speak English. Hayi namhlanje ufike nabanye, baby. So Pamela says, my husband is using his great-grandmother's surname and he should be using the surname Mtiwani. Uceda ukungilobola. Will it affect us and the kids because bathi abayenzolanga amasiko kumele baby izulu ngizongeniswa. Okay, so umlobolile kuthiwa ukuthi it will affect them because he's using the great-grandmother surname. Is this from the maternal or paternal side? But I know Guti, there's a ritual. You don't just change surnames, nakona, because now you are getting married. It will,
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that both of you need to go and consult and get an informed advice. Unlike this, because there's so many questions that come into play when we're dealing in situations. At this moment user leso sibongo, and leso sibongo yibo abantu abambhekile, yibo abantu abamkhanyisela, yibo abantu abamnike ngisho nalomshado lo azoba nawo njengoba sekafuna ukushada, uyayibona lento. And those are the things as a very sensitive ukuthi you don't just say because usebenzisa ini then it's not gonna work. Uyabona, you need to go and consult and see ukuthi okay njengoba sebenzisa lesi sibongo why, uyabona, kwenzakalani ekhaya. Those are the other things that we need to look at ukuthi yini leyo eyenzakalayo. Then when ni consulta nizonikwa ngisho ne-information egcwele ukuthi kukanje, because sometimes it's not about ukuthi what we know, but is what abantu abadala want, is what abantu abadala are saying ngaleso sibongo. Ukayibona lento, that is why ngisho ukuthi it will be for you, it will be better to go niyo consulta nomuntu wakho.
Yes.
Ukuze nizokwazi ukuthola an informed and in-depth explanation and nikwazi ukumake ama-decisions right.
Love that. Love that. And I would have not thought of it to go consult, because there are many reasons that might have informed to that surname. Because I was going to like, oh no, you need to do certain rituals, but I think that's a very valid point, and especially because there are kids involved and there's marriage coming. So that's why we have you here, because I know there's certain things that you know much more clearer and deeper than I know them. Because ukule ngesintu, and like that's some of the things. Because even when I'm consulting, like I'm like, Mkhulu, please come. And when he's consulting, and because I'm the teacher and I explain things explicitly in a language that anybody can understand, he'll be like, hey, also kuma nomuntu ngapha ungathi asizwani ngenkulumo. So that's how you also complement each other. I think in a relationship is not to try be somebody else. And we're not doing this thing because now Mkhulu Mkhatswa is going to, because he's got his own wisdom. I am mostly the outspoken and speaking one when I do my singing, but so I should not chula when I'm singing. But I'm not going to try and attempt to now start my lives with these musical songs,
Amen. To God.
Nimzilat, amen. Let's close it off, guys. We are almost 21 hour 20 minutes into the live. It will be saved. Please remember to like it, subscribe. We appreciate all the likes, all the subscriptions that are coming. We thank you so much for the super stickers. We are going to close with Ngetseng says, thanks for emphasis on free will. It's a definite. Dlozal fosti muntu. Dlozal phoqelele muntu. Asekeleni ukwenza amanyala bese sithi amadlozi athi. Let's take responsibility for our lives, because responsibility is that I am able to respond and you respond better.
Yeah, and also we also need to understand ukuthi abantu abadala, they've given us or they've blessed us ngesipho sobungoma noma esebuprofit or in whatever gift you are gifted with, because they know ukuthi you are capable of making it work. You are capable of ukuyolekelela isizwe or this world to be a better place. And yonke into bayayiletha kuthina, but we need to make those decisions so that we make our lives better and we make the lives of the people that come kithi bazofuna usizo ukuthi ibe ngcono impilo zabo. And once Tina, we fail to make decisions, then it's like we failing them. Sometimes they will allow you to make your own mistakes, because that it is your journey that you need to grow within, that you need to grow, so that mowenzela amaphutha uzokwazi ukuyolekelela abanye abantu who are going through the very same things. Because most of the time, we go through certain things and we find out later when sesiqala sisebenza, hey, ngathi ngi-attracta abantu abaney'nkinga ezikanje, and when you trace back yizinto vele ebengidlule kuzo. That is why now you are now be made to become an expert kuleyo nto, because you've experienced it, you've lived that, you've went through that experience, waze wandlulela ngale, and today you are living a better life because of you walked the walk, and then now you can talk the talk.
Thank you. You'll join us again.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. We love you.
Thank you.
Your wisdom is incredible. Your knowledge on certain things, and you bring flavor. You bring flavor. Thank you. Yeah, I can ask you to sing, can I?
Thank you for the time and the appreciation. Nami ngiyabonga kakhulu, nami niyangivuselela, nami ngiyathanda ukuba nani, kodwa ngiyazi ukuthi ngesinye isikhathi fanele ngiyekele kumama ukuthi kube uyena ahamba ayenze okunye, nami ngizoza ngelinye ilanga ngithi nami ngibeke itshe esivivaneni ukuze
Baby, stop it. When you speak Zulu, you just take me on another level. Like Mkhulu mangacala khuma lezulu esijulile ngivele ngimelt njengebhat. Right? We do, and I think, you know, that's yeah, you are the man when people are, you know, I mean, you saw, if you are struggling and you are wanting to understand things deeply from a, you know, ukuthi now umuntu nasisibongo siyahlupha, ubani akenzelanga ubani isiko elithize, idlozi lingaphandle liyakhala. So when you are trying to understand the, especially sitting ezulu indaba badala, or impica badala, indaba that is complex and complicated. Mkhulu Mkhatswa is the one that will, you know, and Gog D is the one that will explain and unpack and simplify. Uphume esigodlweni, understand the gift, to how come, you know, because we all about empowering people. We don't just consult because sifuna uhlole bese siyandlulisa, sifuna imvuselelo. Sifuna ukuthi you came confused and you leave with much better clarity, and that's how we work as the Nhlanzi Institute of Spiritual Healing. We thank you very much. Should you need to see us, we've got a website. Our website is still Kokotino Nhlanzi. We are still doing some renovations on that because we've separated my brand to the Institute. And yes, you see, the English was on point, and these are the cities. Yes. Let's give big, you know, namhlanje bamvumela khulume isingisi umkhulu. Siyabonga. No, namhlanje, like I was like, huh? Kufika bani? uJoseph.
Kuhamba bayavuma abantu abadala. Nami ngiyazibongela kakhulu and to the tribe and everybody okhona and everybody ozobona umthwebulo lesiwenzayo. Sithi siyabonga isupport, siyabonga konke esikusho ukuthi
asambe siyothandana, siyolekelelana, siyokhulisana ukuze sokwazi ukuthi senze leli lizwe libe indawo engcono than we found it. Because our mandate is to heal, and is to also bring along families together, and it is to also be able ukuhlanganisa and ukukhulisa isimo sabantu abansundu ukuze nathi sizobonakala ukuthi yazini sike saba khona, and this is what we've done. We've taken the legacy yabantu abadala, and now with the wisdom yabo siyakwazi ukuthi senze lokhu abasiphe kona ukuthi kube yinto ezohamba iyogqugquzela abanye, iyohamba iyovuselela abanye. Siyazibongela kakhulu. Ngiyabonga ngesikhathi senu. Thokozani.
Good night. Good night. So I have just said good people can do that, because then people would ask, Koko, how do we consult? How do we do that? You come to us, or you go to where your spirit leads you. You can also just go on the Kokodino Ndlanzi page. Before Mkhulu was doing his thank you, is that we're gonna have a separate page called the Ndlanzi Institute that is dedicated in explaining the work yet. Because we do also get a lot of inquiries about, I want to try some Mkhulu Mkhatswa. So even on there, you will actually be shown a process of how do you initiate with us, because there's an enrollment process. Just because you are gifted and you've seen us doesn't mean we are your gobelas. So it's a rich, but this is basically to not share everything, but to give people a direct, like, help you understand how does the institute work and so forth. Because ukoko dinero is ukoko dinero, and then Ndlanzi Institute
Something different.
yes, in abo G nabo M nabo M, it's the double M's, yes, and double B's. Good night.